who makes the magic show and many other things for Star City Games, is where we'll begin. He's playing against Kalani Low, playing Black-Green Devotion. So, you know, you could argue the two best decks in the format are kind of going toe-to-toe here.
Yeah, Kalani playing a list very similar to the one that Andrew Tenjum used to win last week. I believe that he's got one copy of Pack Rat for a main deck, Whip of Erebos, but otherwise you're seeing pretty close to that list.
And there is your brand new temple there from Low. Erwin with just an overgrown tomb passes the turn back. We are underway here, round number 1 of 9 in Knoxville, and I suppose the Thoughtseize is appropriate. We'll take a look at the hand here of a Whip of Erebos, a Lifebane Zombie, a Hero's Downfall, an Underworld Connections, and a Swamp for Low.
This is the matchup that tripped up Jeff Hookland in the elimination rounds last week. He ran into Andrew Tenjum in the top 4 who was able to beat him. The junk mid-range deck is a little bit soft to Pack Rat, not flush with a lot of answers to that card. It's basically a removal spell on the spot, and that was problematic in the top 4 match.
We'll see what Erwin does want to take with the Thoughtseize. You see he's got a Vraska in his hand, also has a Lifebane Zombie, a Hero's Downfall. Not sure he has a third land just yet. Might have a Decay hiding over there as well. We definitely see the second land. It looks like both players are going to have a little bit of mana issues in this game. And it looks like Erwin is going to take the Underworld Connection. It's probably the most powerful card there in Low's hand.
It is the most powerful, but the junk mid-range deck is susceptible to Lifebane Zombie as well. Quite a few white creatures, including Blood Baron, Archangel of Thune, Obsidat, and so forth, so...
Erwin's going to scry here with the Temple. Malady sees a copy of Mana Confluence. That'll give him his third land. And looks like he's going to consult things. Looks like he may have a Temple Guard hanging out over there as well. So we'll see exactly what he wants to do with this scry right now. And it looks like that card's going to go to the bottom before he does pass the turn back over to Low, who will untap his Temple. He'll take a draw. Looks like he picked up a Grave Merchant for the turn, so he's just going to play his Swamp, which everybody does know about. And just pass the turn back over to Erwin, who will untap and take a draw. Looks like picked up a Temple of Silence for a draw step. So it looks like lands are not going to be a problem here for Evan.
He's got to be thrilled there that Kalani did not find a Pack Rat off the top there. Again, one of the tougher cards for this junk mid-range deck to beat.
Erwin going to play a Temple of Silence. Take a look at a Temple of Plenty. That one's going towards the bottom. And just going to pass the turn back with his brand new Scavenging Ooze over to Low, who will draw a copy of Mutavault. So there's the third land for the Black-Green Devotion player. A Lifebane Zombie is going to show us Evan's hand of Lifebane Zombie, Hero's Downfall, Temple Garden, and a Vraska. A swing and a miss.
And importantly for Evan, he has his mana set up this game, which means that his draw steps are all going to be live. That's really important against Black Devotion or Black Splash Green Devotion. They're often going after your hand, and then it's a matter of, are you able to draw high impact cards and cast them? The junk mid-range deck, no shortage of high impact cards, and now with the mana online to cast nearly anything in the deck.
Hero's Downfall is going to take care of that Lifebane Zombie. You saw Temple Garden come into play untapped. That's to facilitate the Scavenging Ooze activation on that Lifebane Zombie. And across for 3, the Ooze will go. Low's going to go down to 17. Before passing the turn back, you see a Hero's Downfall still over there in the grip. Grave Merchant, Whip of Obsidat as well. You can see Low did not find his 4th land. A little frustrated by that, but we'll see what he wants to do in the meantime.
Well, if you can point a kill spell at this Scavenging Ooze, he may want to, but remember the junk mid-range deck is flush with all sorts of high-impact 5-mana creatures. May want to hold that for something else.
Yeah, you mentioned Blood Baron and Archangel. There's also an Obsidat right now in Erwin's hand. That was his draw last turn. So we'll see if he's able to find the 5th land for that. He has scried some lands to the bottom, but does pick up a Godless Shrine this turn. So Obsidat is on now if Erwin would like to cast it. But he also has the option of, you know, playing something as simple as Vraska and taking that up or down.
Yeah, Vraska, not that high impact right now. Evan may want to test the waters here by attacking with the Scavenging Ooze, see if that bleeds out a removal spell, and maybe opening up a path for Obsidat to come into play uncontested.
He's going to survey the board and figure out what he wants to do on this turn.
Looks like Evan might be consulting his notes from that Thoughtseize earlier.
Yeah. Now, of course, Vraska's destroy target non-land permanent, but the Ooze is going to bite the dust here. So if Vraska would tick up in this situation, don't think it's a bad spot to be ticking up, but at the same time, when your opponent's tapped out and you can resolve an Obsidat, hard not to take that option.
Yeah, I like getting Obsidat into play here.
And he is going to go with Vraska, the Unseen, and will not get to actually be able to take care of that Mutavault. You see, Low is going to mention, hey, I don't think you can kill a land in this situation. It is basically, you think of Vraska as a Vindicate.
Yep.
But the one thing it can't do is take out land, so it's just going to tick up and then threaten to be able to take out 2 permanents now, which is still pretty good.
Yeah, it puts Kalani under some amount of risk here. Also, given the way that his hand's set up, going ultimate here with Vraska is in play.
I suppose Assassins are live, as here comes the Mutavault. Doesn't want to attack Vraska, of course, as that thing would bite the dust, so Erwin's just going to take 2 points of damage. before Lowe does pass the turn back. And now here's Obsidat Ghost Council. A little drain, a little brain, as BBD would say. And it's probably going to go hiding here. We'll see Vraska tick up before it does go hiding. Almost missed it, but there we are. And there that goes. Lowe's in some serious trouble now.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some Assassins get this game done.
It's a good start to the weekend.
Yeah, that's a good start. Kalani's hand provides no resistance to what's going on in play right now. His hand is just Gray Merchants, a Whip of Obsidat, a Pack Rat he doesn't want to cast, an Abrupt Decay with no targets.
Yeah. In comes Obsidat, a little drain, a little brain. Erwin's going to go up to 17. Lowe's going to go down to 13. The junk mid-range player is certainly in the driver's seat right now. Obsidat's going to come into the red zone. Lowe is going to go down to 8. And is it assassin time?
Come on, Evan.
Come on.
Come on, Evan.
You only get to do this once.
You're on camera and everything.
That's a life bane zombie. I guess he wants to see if the coast is clear.
Just confirm that the coast is clear.
Gray Merchant times 2, a Whip, a Pack Rat, and an Abrupt Decay. Things are looking pretty safe to me.
That is a hand not equipped to handle 3 assassin tokens.
You only live once.
That's true.
That's a shoulder shrug. That's an Abrupt Decay over there on the life bane zombie. Is it time?
Come on.
Is it time?
Come on.
No, boo,
Boo.
boo,
Boo.
boo. Hate that. You hate to see that.
Yeah.
Temple of Malady going to roll off the top here for Lowe. Take a look at the top card. Going to leave it on top. See if Lowe wants to drop that Pack Rat now. So almost, he forgot to, looks like Erwin opting not to blink out the Obsidat there as well. Here comes Pack Rat, it looks like. See, maybe realizing the misstep there of not blinking out the Obsidat. I'm just going to pass the turn back. Take a draw. Looks like a Temple was picked up here. Here comes Obsidat in for 5. Looks like this is going to be a mutable activation. An attempt to block Hero's Downfall says, I don't think so. Lowe's going to go down to 3. Erwin's going to stay at 17. We'll see if Assassins are going to show up. They are. A little late to the party, if you ask me.
Evan wanted to keep his Vraska around. I think I would have just snapped it off last turn once you know about Kalani's hand really not having an out to it.
There's a Swamp off the top. That would have been the 5th land there for a Gray Merchant, but a little too late here as the Assassins and Obsidat are going to get the job done. Both players having a blast here as Evan Erwin does win game number 1. Junk mid-range up a game here over Black-Green Devotion. You mentioned how it's really difficult, actually, for Junk mid-range to take care of a Pack Rat early in the game, but fortunately for Erwin, didn't show up there.
Yeah, and Kalani's hand really didn't provide much else. He wants a mixture of removal spells and just to make his land drops, and in that game he was able to really do neither. Didn't have a lot of removal, stumbled on lands, had a Whip of Erebos that provided no utility, 2 copies of Gray Merchant that he couldn't cast, and his draw just didn't provide enough resistance.
We'll take a look at the sideboards here. You've got Black-Green Devotion in front of you. Lowe's deck list. He needs some help. What can you find?
He's got 2 copies of Erebos of the Dead, 2 Doom Blades, 2 Bile Blades, 2 copies of Duress, 2 Dark Betrayal, 2 Golgari Charms, 2 Brain Maggots, and a Devour Flesh. I think that the Brain Maggots are going to be coming in here. The additional removal spells, like Doom Blade, and Erebos God of the Dead, another source of card advantage.
That's a card I feel like we never even said its name last week. Brain Maggots.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't think anyone played that in any of our feature matches. It's a little bit surprising. You have to imagine that card's got to be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm surprised, maybe some mono black decks want to supplement some of their discard with that sort of effect at minimum, especially because the incremental points of damage definitely add up.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think it's a card that's worthy of some sideboard slots, but once you already have access to Thoughtseize and Duress, it's pretty hard to make room for the additional copies of that sort of effect.
On our one side, we've got a Sin Collector 2, along with an Underworld Connections, 3 Bile Blights, 2 Golgari Charms, 2 Putrefies, a Thoughtseize, a Pity Needle, Sylvan Caryatid, a Blood Baron with Scope, and an Archangel of Thune. Blood Baron, obviously the easiest one to board in here. Might want additional Thoughtseize, as that's a pretty good card in this sort of matchup. Gotta like Pity Needle as well. Can shut off Underworld Connections and Pack Rat, which is a problem card, along with Erebos, if he believes that those are going to come in. I also like the idea of Sin Collector here in this matchup. Seems to be just a natural swap over Lifebane Zombie and a better card in the matchup.
Sin Collector's great against decks with Devour Flesh when you have Blood Baron in your own deck.
Yeah.
Because it can both take Devour Flesh and provides insurance against a Devour Flesh. So Sin Collector opening up a path for Blood Baron is a pretty common path for black-white decks to take against Mono Black Devotion.
A lot of Magic to be watched this weekend, and we'd like you guys to join in on the conversation with Patrick and I at SCG Live, hashtag SCGKNOX. That's Knox for Knoxville, which is where we are. 9 rounds of standard so far. Doesn't look like we're going to be late stragglers. Again, 404 players. So we do have 9 rounds right near the cutoff. Going to be fun for the tiebreaker math and all that good stuff. And then don't forget, tomorrow we've got Legacy here on Mother's Day. It'll be fun. Make sure you do give your moms a call tomorrow. I actually talked to my mom for a long time yesterday. She was wondering where I was, and I said Knoxville, Tennessee, Mom.
Yeah, I'm going to give my mom a call tomorrow
Absolutely.
morning. Yeah, touch base.
So it'll be a fun weekend here in Knoxville, home of the Tennessee Volunteers. My first time, just like yours. Pretty nice city. Hanging out. Maybe Evan can show us around this evening. Who knows?
Definitely a town, from what little I've been in here so far, that is passionate about their college and their football team.
Yes, yes. I actually forgot I forgot my orange shirt this weekend. I thought about it when I was driving to the airport. It seemed appropriate, and I just left it at home.
I actually have a University of Tennessee shirt that I got for when I came out for, I believe, GP Nashville.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
But I forgot to bring it.
I was going to ask why you would have a Tennessee Volunteer shirt, but that makes sense.
When I travel to Grand Prix, I often try to fit in with the local element. That's why I had that. When we went to Columbus, I had that Buckeye shirt.
Oh,
Same
yeah.
deal.
Well, that's just unacceptable because I hate them, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Backup match, Eric Rill is up a game right now, presumably playing blue-white control yet again. Again, this is a very, very important weekend for him and Van Meter, along with Joe Lissette. The race is going to be fun. I mean, we're going to watch those guys quite a bit this weekend.
Yep, and I also think that Gerard Fabiano, who's been doing a lot of work grinding in local IQs, is another dark horse for the potentially locking up that Season 2 point invite.
Yeah, and Real, I have his deck list in front of me. Chances are we'll be able to move over to that match depending on how this one goes. But he is, of course, with his standard blue-white no creature deck.
Yep.
That's the one that he likes. He's got of course, the Aetherling in the sideboard, but that's what he made the finals with before being dispatched by Tenjim, and that's what he's rocking and rolling with this weekend again as he looks to earn himself some more Open Series points and keep making that run towards the Players' Championship here in Season 2.
Eric Rill's performance with blue-white control hasn't been as publicized as, say, Adrian Sullivan's, but he's been having a great run with that deck over the last couple of months.
Yeah, I think I think part of the reason that Adrian's performance is just a little more publicized is because he does have a column, but also because his blue-white deck is just so kind of wacky and wonky.
Yes.
And different with all of his one-ofs. You know, you've got the Azorius Key Rune, among other things. You know, he's just kind of up to some crazy things here. We see Ken Ketter right now actually walking a slip-up right now as well, number 17 on our Open Series leaderboard, so he's off to a good start. Wouldn't be surprised if he's employing Stormbreath Dragon this weekend.
We've had Adrian play Detention Sphere and with the trigger on the stack disperse so many times on camera that his deck has kind of its own flourish to it.
Yeah, it's blue-white, but it's so much more than that, it seems, when Adrian's playing the deck. Big fan of Elixir of Immortality, too. Actually going to take a look to see if Rill is running that card. I know that he...
Yeah, he has one.
Yeah, he has one. I think he's in the Elixir camp, too. The camps are always split, right? People either like it or they hate it.
Yep.
So...
I am overall not a huge fan, I think, but I totally respect playing one.
Yeah. I can certainly understand. You know, if you're playing a version with Elixir versus not, you're almost playing a different deck. As you see, Chris Van Meter, you guys can't see that on him, he's also walking up with a slip, so it looks like our named players are off to a beautiful start thus far. Not sure how Joe Lissette's doing, but if we do find out, we'll, of course, pass that information along. You have to imagine that Joe's probably playing some sort of control deck, though he did expand his range at the Invitational in Charlotte, playing Red, White, Burn.
And the first overall seed at the end of that tournament as well. So
that definitely worked out for him. He went undefeated in the Legacy portion of the Invitational, surprise, surprise, with miracles, and was able to cobble together just enough wins with Red, White, Burn on that particular weekend, choosing to play that deck just because he didn't feel like he would be good enough to win the Esper Mirrors, didn't have enough practice then. So don't know if he's on a Revelation deck, don't know if he's burning people alive. Should be fun to watch, though, as both players here laying out their opening hand. Again, Evan Erwin up a game with Junk mid-range over Kalani low with Black-Green Devotion.
Joe did not have a great weekend in Cincinnati. He was definitely battling some amount of fatigue and sickness, so hopefully he's feeling a little bit better.
And he did stay on the East Coast this weekend. He's got a good friend in North Carolina, so he was able to stay there before coming over here. And he said, if I did well in Dallas, I'm going to make a run at it. He got second place in the Legacy Open there. and he is making the run. Again, he was in Detroit when you were there with Patrick Chapin.
Yep.
We saw him in Cincinnati last weekend, even though he was a little bit under the weather, but was able to cobble together enough wins to get some Open Series points. He knew coming this weekend he'd be a little bit behind. He knew Van Meter would be here. He wasn't sure if Rill would attend. We obviously know that Rill is here and currently up a game in one of our backup matches. And he's going to try to, put something together. It's funny because we always think of Joe as a legacy player, but he has 2 Standard Open wins, so he's certainly capable.
The reputation does not necessarily match the reality. Joe's a great legacy player, of course, but he has quite a few standard finishes as well.
Underway here in game number 2, Evan Erwin going to scry the top card to the bottom with Temple of Silence. You saw Lowe just play an Overgrown Tomb. Looks like he's got another one of those in his hand that's going to come into play tap. No Pack Rat, however.
He had the 1 main deck Whip of Erebos last game. He also has it this game, and that Whip of Erebos comes at the expense of a 4th copy of Pack Rat. And this has been troubling that this swap has been made in these games thus far.
You see a Thoughtseize here from Erwin on turn 2 yet again, a Dark Betrayal, Whip of Erebos. Looks like 2 copies of Hero's Downfall along with the Mutavault. So land not really an issue, definitely have some things to do with it. The question is, what does Thoughtseize want to take? Nothing too scary here in Lowe's hand, in my opinion.
This is one of the more potent things about Junk Midrange in a subtle way against Black Devotion is the removal spells very rarely overlap correctly against everything that you bring to the table. If you see Mono Black Devotion play against monsters, for example, Doomblade is going to target everything. But against Junk Midrange, you see the Dark Betrayal in Kalani's hand. That's to answer Obsidat. If he has a Doomblade, that answers certain things but not others, and so it's harder for your removal to line up just right against the threats they bring to the table.
You saw Thoughtseize take that Hero's Downfall, Temple Garden come in and play tap. Low just plays the Mutavault that we did know about here. As Erwin's going to play a Temple Garden untapped. He's going to go down to 16. And it looks like it might be time for a Courser of Crucifix or a Sin Collector, which is a card you said you liked a lot in this matchup.
Black Devotion, very heavy with spells. And again, when you have specifically Blood Baron in your deck, this is such a great tool against Devour Flesh.
The grip is going to go down. Looks like an Erebos was added. You see the Hero's Downfall, the Whip, and the Dark Betrayal. Erwin going to take care of that Hero's Downfall, as there are some Planeswalkers looming in his deck, so would like that card out of the hand. We'll see if Dark Betrayal is going to get fired off here, or if Lowe wants to wait. But it looks like Dark Betrayal will take care of that. As if he does draw a 4th land, he's certainly got something to do with the mana.
And there's no guarantee that Evan has any more targets.
Yep.
And that's the other important thing to keep in mind here.
Temple of Malady will be the 4th land, but unfortunately for Lowe, that comes into play tapped. Scry is going to put the top card to the bottom. Mutavault will come into the red zone. Erwin's going to go down to 14. He'll take an untap and a draw.
Evan's done a great job of attacking the hand here. Let's see if he can follow up with anything big.
Courser Crew fix to start. Thoughtseize on the top. No land to play, so relying on the Courser for a land, but does not find one. Does Erwin, as Lowe will draw a card. It's a Swamp. Erebos and Whip of Erebos in the grip. See which one Lowe wants to start off with here.
Erebos is significant here. The game's being played at a fairly slow pace, so Kalani's going to have the opportunity to draw some cards. And the Jump mid-range deck filled with a lot of incidental life gain. You see Course of Crufix, Scavenging Ooze, another card, Obsidat, and so forth. So shutting off Evan's ability to gain life is significant as well.
Thoughtseize going to be added to Erwin's hand. There's a Swamp off the top. You mentioned no life gain from the Courser. Certainly helps that Erwin's going to be able to hit his land drop, however. That's certainly step number 1.
Junk mid-range really needs to get to 5.
And you see Erwin wanted to gain some life, but Erebos says, I don't think so. Godless Shrine, the top card here, so Erwin's going to be able to find his land drops for the next couple of turns, and we do know that once you get to 5 mana, that's where scary things start to happen.
Lot of really good vibes. Again, Obsidat, Archangel of Thune, Blood Baron, Vraska, Johnny, a lot of really good 5s.
Yeah. This deck is built to get to 5 mana. If it can do that, that's when things get really scary, as Courser does come across here. Erwin choosing not to cast the Thoughtseize. He's going to leave up a removal spell potentially here.
Maybe Advent of the Worm is in play here?
That's also a thing in this deck. We saw Hooglin use that to great effect last week. There you do see Erebos ready at a moment's notice to pay 2 life and draw a card. We'll see if Lowe wants to use that game plan. Maybe wants to deploy the Whip this turn to work on his Devotion to turn Erebos on. It looks like it's going to be a Lifebane zombie.
Lifebane's a pretty nice play here from Kalani, as it allows him to still draw a card off of his Erebos, add to the Devotion count, get something into play.
Yeah, the one thing Lifebane zombie can't do, however, and this is part of the reason that people like Advent of the Worm, is that you can't take it. You're going to see the grip here, Advent, along with a Courser, an Underworld Connections, a Bile Blight, a Hero's Downfall, a Thoughtseize. All those cards are great, and the Courser's going to go away, but Advent of the Worm is going to come to play here in a moment.
And that's one of the best ways that Evan can play around the Erebos. You can't kill it outright, But if he starts going after Kalani's life total, he can't be as liberal about using Erebos over and over again.
So you see Lowe's going to record this information. The Courser will get removed from the Lifebane Zombie. Thoughtseize, Underworld Connections, Bioblight, and Hero's Downfall are the cards that Lowe has to contend with, and that's a pretty tough group to beat.
You can see Kalani chuckling a little bit. This is a loaded hand that Evan has.
He doesn't even have any of the busted 5-drops we talked about either. That's the crazy part. And we know Lowe's last card in his hand is Whip of Erebos. Erwin knows that from an earlier Thoughtseize, so he knows that casting Advent of the Worm is relatively safe here. A 5/5 Trampler going to come into play. Don't forget that Worm does have Trample. And there that is. A token from our IQ series. Goblet Shrine going to be the draw. Banishing Light will be revealed. And that'll take care of Erebos at some point in this game if everyone would like it to.
Another great reveal here from Evan.
A lot of people this week questioning the inclusion of Advent of the Worm in Hooglin and in Junk Midrange deck in general. How do you feel about that card in this deck?
It is a little out of place insofar as it's not really removal. The deck's primary game plan is just removal, bridging into powerful 5-mana plays. So it's out of line there a little bit, but it is an extremely powerful card. Plays really well with Ajani, and you just need something to do on turn 4.
Yeah.
So.
You know, obviously Ajani can't find it, but it can pump it, and we've got an 8/8 Trampler. You are not wasting any time on closing the game.
Yeah, going from nothing in play to I have an 8/8 Trampler and a Planeswalker is a really powerful sequence.
Goblet Shrine going to come into play tapped here. We're going to tap some mana. Looks like it's time to put Underworld Connections into play on a Temple Garden. So the longer this game goes, it looks like it's going to favor Erwin as he's coming from a couple different angles here, excuse me. He's obviously got a great army on the board here as Lowe does draw and play a Swamp. There's the Whip of Erebos. Now Erebos is on. Mutavault's going to be on as well. And so we're going to attack for a whole bunch here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points of damage. The Whip of Erebos kind of wanted to join the party too.
Yep.
And I think the Mutavault's actually what's meant to be attacking. There we are. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now Erwin is actually the one that's kind of under the gun here a little bit.
And Evan knew about all of this. I think that he was a little too hasty with just playing Underworld Connections. Last turn would have been better served by just using a removal spell on that Lifebane Zombie.
Yeah. Shuts off the Devotion for Erebos. Mutavault could come in here for 2, but instead Erwin ends up taking 10, which is a whole lot more than 2. He's actually going to take another 1 and go down to 3. So playing a little bit with his life total here. Let's not forget, too, that Lowe gained 10.
Yeah, it's a huge hit.
There you see the Overgrown Tomb, the top card. Where to start now if you're Erwin? He does have a Banishing Light.
Well, Banishing Light can take care of Whip of Erebos, for example, and then you can use a removal spell on the Lifebane Zombie.
Well, here's your 3 mana. He's actually going to say, all right, I want to get Erebos itself out of here with this Banishing Light.
I don't mind this play. The risk that I see here is that Evan's going to have to kill this Lifebane on the way back.
Sure.
And now, with Evan at 3, he may be facing lethal just by Whip of Erebos getting back Lifebane Zombie. Evan can't block it. And
yeah, and that's probably going to be it, right? I believe he's sitting at 3 life at this point. Can't block because of Intimidate. And that's going to do it. So you see he realizes a bit of an error in his ways here, and Lowe is going to win game number 2. So we're going to play a third and final one here between Junk Midrange and Black Green Devotion.
Evan's shaking off a little bit of rust here.
Yeah. Definitely a few missteps there over the course of that game. And you can see he's kind of shaking his head, realizing that he definitely made some mistakes in that area. You see behind Lowe, you've got Jeff Hooglin and Ken Ketter. Ketter victorious this round. Hooglin was not. Looks like on Twitter, he failed to draw a spell past his opening hand 2 games in a row. And the opponent drew lots of dragons. So Jeff off to an 0-1 start this round. You have to imagine he's playing Junk Midrange again.
No way he's not running it back.
After the success of last weekend, I wouldn't change my deck either. Maybe change a few slots or whatever, but I would stay with the thing that brought me to the dance.
Maybe find a way to sneak and assemble a Legion or a War Leader's Helix
Sure,
or whatever.
sure.
But yeah, basically going to be playing the same deck.
You're never going to let that go, are you? You're never going to let that go.
No, that Detroit list was one for the ages.
Look, he's just expanding his range.
That list in Detroit felt like a I'm trying to feel something moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
sometimes you just do things because you just need to feel something.
It's just a bit of a demonstration on what Jeff is capable of. That's all. There's no one that can stop him. He'll build whatever he wants, whenever he wants.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, that's fine. Ain't gonna stop him though.
He's not here to win your favor.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean?
He's here to cast Assemble a Legion and Abrupt Decay in the same deck.
Right.
I can respect that. Oh, Evan now apologizing to us for his for his, quote, loose play, unquote.
You don't gotta apologize to me, man. My paycheck's still clear.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
We got
It's fine by me either way, man.
You do what you do.
You do you, Evan.
Yep. All right, buddy. We answer to you.
Yeah.
Not to apologize to us, that's
Right.
for sure.
We apologize to you.
Yeah. We're not quite sure what for,
Yeah, right.
but we're sorry.
Yeah,
we're sorry.
I take it all back. I'm really sorry, Evan.
We're moving into game number 3 of round 1 here in Knoxville. Center field is Patrick Sullivan. We've got 9 rounds of fun for you guys today. We do appreciate you joining us. A lot of options out there as far as Magic does go, but this is going to be a really, really good one here as we work our way through our standard format yet again. Week 1 was fun, but not all that exciting. I think, week 2 here in Knoxville, we'll see states all over the country next week. And then we're heading to Jersey the week after that. I think that's when we're really going to see a lot of the brews out there.
For sure. The last week in Cincinnati, we saw a lot of the week 1 evolution of add some dual lands to pre-existing decks. Whether, you're turning your blue-white deck instead of Esper, you're turning into blue-white-red, or your Black Devotion list, now you're adding green, and so forth. That's all the easy steps to take.
Yep.
I think in time, you're going to see people build honest-to-goodness new decks. But it takes a little bit of time.
I mean, some players are already beginning to try. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to read Tom Ross's article this weekend. His sheep aggro deck, which sounds completely absurd, but it's basically a white devotion deck with main deck Nyx Fleece Rams. Tom is an aggressive player by nature, so if he's advertising something like that, it's probably got to be pretty good. Would love to see Tom pilot that deck at one of these tournaments here in the near future. So it was a very innovative take. So I would definitely send you that way on the select side to see Tom Ross's new brew, as both players here starting off with the Temple of Malady. In game number 3, Erwin going to take a draw here, see if he's got another land. He does as a Temple of Plenty. So this is how junk mid-range typically starts. Some temples, some lands that come into play tapped, smooth the draw, and then play the big stuff.
The deck stumbles around a little bit on the early turns, but what's nice about it is you have a lot of removal to catch you back up, and you have a lot of incidental life gain. So even if you fall a little bit under the gun, scavenging uses and coursers and so forth can pull you back in.
And there's a Thoughtseize on turn number 3 here from Erwin, so we're going to see what Lowe's got. Looks like a whole bunch of lands, 3 Mutavaults, a Swamp, along with a Desecration Demon, a Hero's Downfall, and a Grey Merchant of Asphodel. I wonder what you do take in this situation. Kind of lays the landscape for the rest of the game. If he's taking a removal spell, it means he's got a creature that he wants to keep. If he's taking Desecration Demon, it means he probably doesn't have a removal spell for the 6/6 flyer.
It's very unlikely that the card he's taking here is Grey Merchant.
Yeah.
So it's exactly as you put it. So you're trying to open up a path for something, and then you select Hero's Downfall, or do you have no answer to this Desecration Demon, and then you just take that instead?
Erwin going to write down the information here. Knows that he has to contend with 3 copies of Mutavault. One could argue the best land in Standard.
I don't think one could argue anything else.
I know, there are a lot of Island fans out there, so.
I would be willing, maybe to accept that Temple of Enlightenment is better, but it's Mutavault.
Fair enough.
Let's not mess around here.
Mutavault number 1 is going to come into play. Here's the Thoughtseize off the top for low, so he wants to see exactly what Erwin is working with, as Erwin did select the Grey Merchant with the Thoughtseize. So Erwin's going to show you an ultimate price of Vraska, an Underworld Connections, a Bile Blight, and a Swamp. Underworld Connections, looks like it's time to leave, and you see a handful of removal spells there.
So now, not really a path for that Vraska, as Underworld Hero's Downfall still at the ready. But Evan can at least protect himself for a while with these removal spells.
Take a draw, Will Erwin. It's a forest. Swamp going to come into play, pass the turn back. Removal spells at the ready here. Lowe going to take his draw. Lifebane Zombie comes rolling up the top. Again, he does have 3 copies of Mutavault.
And knowing that Evan's hands a lot of removal spells, he may be happy to just attack with Mutavault for a little while here.
Yeah. Ultimate Price can't take it down. Vraska can't either. And, as long as Lowe doesn't activate both of them, Bile Blight, trading one from with Mutavault's not so bad.
Sure. Yeah.
And here comes Mutavault. Into the red zone we go. And Erwin's going to take 2. So, a draw here. You see the forest? Oh, Johnny, now that's a pretty big draw.
And you can see Evan there with a little sticking out of the lower lip and a nod there.
Yeah, a little pep in his step.
He knows that's a good draw too.
Now that being said, You know, the question is, do you lead with Vraska or do you lead with a Johnny here? And Johnny's going to tick up, especially when you know your opponent has a Hero's Downfall in their hand. You see 1, 2, 3, couple of cards here. Wants to make sure he knows exactly what a Johnny does. We'll do the exact same, of course. You look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an Aura creature or a Planeswalker card, put it in the grip, rest go on the bottom, and Erwin with a swing and a miss before passing the turn back over to Low.
I think that I would have led with Vraska because Vraska is such a juicy Hero's Downfall target.
Gotta agree.
You don't want to attack it, of course.
Yep.
And so you take care of the Hero's Downfall that way, and then you open up a path for Johnny to be potentially uncontested.
Now here is a Thoughtseize. So had the case been where Erwin actually did lead with the Vraska instead of the Ajani, it looks like he would have lost it anyway, as Vraska would probably died to the Hero's Downfall and Thoughtseize would have taken the Ajani. So it doesn't look like it comes back to hurt him. The bad thing here for Erwin is that he just didn't find anything with his Ajani. So
among the 4 cards per field was Advent of the Worm as well. So that, I said that those cards are synergistic. They are when they're both in your hand.
Yeah.
When one is in your top 4, it is less so the case.
Yeah, a lot of people talking about they would like Pulachronos in that spot instead because you can hit it, and Pulachronos has some applications across a lot of different matchups. So we'll see if people do make that change. Advent of the Worm is obviously a very, very powerful card, as is Mutavault, and the third one does come into play here for Low.
It feels like Advent is probably too important to having an acceptable matchup against control decks. You already have so many creatures that are insane against beatdown decks. I'm not sure if you need Pulachronos instead of Advent. And just having an instant speed threat against control seems really important to me.
Life Pain Zombie going to come into play. You see an Ultimate Price, a Hero's Downfall, and a Bile Blight. Nothing too crazy going on.
Just some removal spells, nothing proactive.
That thing's going to pay the price. Erwin going to untap, take a draw. Picks up a copy of Corsair Crewfix. That'll help. There's a copy of Abrupt Decay. Tapping is a little bit curious just because now he can't cast Bile Blight.
Yeah, it was not a great tap. It's unlikely to matter very much because, you know, Kalani would have to use a removal spell here and then fire up 2 Mutavaults. I guess it's not impossible, but I agree with your larger point.
There's a Desecration Demon, another copy of Giant. Now this is where things do get a little bit interesting because that Ajani can actually potentially start to take over here.
Yes, board's pretty stable. Evan's got a lot of life to work with. He has a blocker now, and he's going to be able to kill the Desecration Demon if he's feeling so inclined, and Ajani might be able to take over this game.
Yeah. And if we've seen anything over our time of doing coverage here, you don't want to let that Desecration Demon hit you once if you can stop it. 6 is a lot.
Evan showed a lot of respect for this deck's ability to race by taking that Grey Merchant out of the earlier Thoughtseize. So I think that Evan's going to err on the side of caution here.
And you see Hero's Downfall is going to take care of that. Leave Abrupt Decay at the ready as Low plays another Lantern. Looks like he's flooding out pretty badly. There's another copy of Desecration Demon. So he's just going to pass the turn back here. Another 6/6 flyer. Johnny going to be added to the grip. Top card is a copy of Obsidat, which he does have the ability to cast. You see the basic forest there, making me double check, make sure that it's good to go, but it is.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about the junk mid-range deck. You often have to do a little price check to make sure that you can actually cast the 5-mana spells because the mana is a little all over the place, but Evan can currently cast that Obsidat.
Taking a look at the Ajani, the problem here is the 2 removal spells that he does have in his hand, which are Bile Blight and Abrupt Decay, do not take care of the 6/6 flyer. So he needs to find another copy of Hero's Downfall, maybe one of those Banishing Lights, something like that to get the 6/6 off the table because it takes care of the game very quickly.
Evan has to decide right now whether or not he wants to sacrifice this Corsair to protect the Ajani for one more turn, or if he's just going to let Ajani go next turn.
Yeah. How to use the Mentor of Heroes is what the player on the right is deciding. And it's certainly a tough decision.
Now that you know you have Obsidat on top, I was going to say that I like the, some part of me likes the idea of just plussing on this Corsair Crewfix, acknowledging that your Ajani is just going to die, and having a 5/7 to race the 6/6 plus the Obsidat you know you're drawing.
Sure, and plus the life gain triggers with the, if lands come rolling off the top,
right.
Maybe you can race that way. Obsidat's going to go to the grip. Those cards are going to go to the bottom. Top card will be revealed for Corsair here. That is a land, so that's important here. That's going to put Erwin up to 17. He's going to get the Scry as well. Top card will be revealed to all players. And that's a Temple of Plenty. And he's going to put that to the bottom. He's going to turn it over, of course. Can't put it that way. And there's the top card, which is an Overgrown Tomb. That'll be Evan's draw for the next turn. So now it's kind of Obsidat and Corsair versus, because you have to imagine that Johnny's going to bite the dust this turn. I don't think you can let that card stay in play.
No, I think that's going to be Kalani's first order of business here.
So Lowe draws a mystery card, as his hand was empty. Desecration Demon trigger placed onto the stack. See, Lowe knows that he's in a little bit of trouble. Has to stick with that 6/6. And a Johnny gonna bite the dust.
And this is why I believe I would have just plussed on the Courser last turn, is you knew that you were drawing upset. It's almost certain that that's just the card you're taking off your Johnny Plus activation.
Sure.
So it leaves you in the same spot, except that you have a 5/7 Courser in play instead of a 2/4.
Ozak gonna join the party now. A little drain, a little brain. Erwin up to 19. Low down to 14.
Now, Evan's still in a great position to raise. A couple removal spells to break up some of Kalani's draws and to contain that Mutavault and a lot of pressure in play.
See if Erwin wants to do with this land here, if he wants to play tapped or untapped. Could go up to 20. Looks like that's going to be the case. Of course, we're going to stay back on defense. Obzadak going to go hiding or at least make an attempt.
Got to go hiding here,
Yep.
yeah. You got your Courser back on defense. That contains all the Mutavaults for the time being, and it's going to be just a pure damage race, so these triggers matter a lot.
Low flooding out pretty badly here. 2 swamps in his hand. Looks like he may want to fire up some Mutavaults here. Really get the race on. Not sure if that puts it in his favor or not, but you can see he's certainly considering it as he rearranged his lands.
I'm not, I actually like firing up all the Mutavaults and alphaing. It's actually a fine play here because he knows that Abrupt Decay is in Evan's hand, so it's not like he's going to get another shot to fire up all these Mutavaults and hit at once. He's going to be having to attack one at a time for a while. So the Bile Blight in hand, I think, makes it pretty rough.
Advent of the Worm, the top card now. Oh, looks like the Obzadat, he forgot the trigger for it to come back. And that looks like that's probably really going to hurt him now because it won't stay gone forever. It comes back at the next opportunity. So we'll see exactly what the ruling is here and all of that stuff, because it's kind of a tricky ruling with if you don't bring it back right away, it comes back at the next available time, which is, I think, on the opponent's turn. But we'll get the exact ruling here from the judge on what exactly is going to happen.
Yeah. Evan's identified that this has happened, but he's drawn a card, and so...
We're much past that. We are very far past that point. The thing is that it doesn't leave forever, because I know that that's the same ruling of Aetherling, too. Like, if you blink Aetherling out and forget to bring it back, it's not exiled forever. That's not how that works. So you see the judge is going to explain some things here to Evan. You see both players talking as well. And as soon as the ruling is final, we'll, of course, let you guys know and radio that over to you at home. But it definitely does change things in this particular game. So again, Erwin's top card is Advent of the Worm. And so that's just going to go away. And it looks like there was just a little drain, a little gain, and all that stuff. So we are kosher, as Golgari Charm was the draw here. That doesn't look like that has much of an effect on this game state.
I think Evan could consider making an attack here with the Courser Crucifix with the Bile Blight in his hand as an insurance policy against these Mutavaults swinging back.
And what the ruling was there for you guys at home is that it came in the next phase, which was the second main phase. So it wasn't able to attack because second main phase is after the attack. But now this time, Erwin does remember the trigger. It comes back into play. Advent of the Worm is the draw. And Desecration Demon taking a much more defensive approach this game as Temple of Silence comes into play. It's scry time and gain of life with Courser.
Kalani can block for a while here. You know, he's got 3 Mutavaults and this Desecration Demon back, but if he doesn't start doing something proactive or find a hero's downfall for this Obzadat, it's just going to run away with the game.
Another copy of Bile Blight off the top there for Erwin. That'll be his draw for the next turn. We know he has Advent of the Worm, along with a couple copies of Abrupt Decay, and still the original Bile Blight in his hand that he's had for some time now.
So I don't think Evan can send an attack just yet, as Kalani can make some good blocks here.
It's kind of interesting, you know, the Bile Blight kind of messes things up a little bit here. You know, if he attacks with a 5/5, block with a 6/6, Bile Blighted before damage, which it looks like, you know, that's a line that's available. But I think it gets much easier once he has the second Bile Blight in his hand.
Sure, yeah.
Dark Betrayal, the draw here for Lowe, so that Obzadat is on some borrowed time now. Trigger for Desecration Demon being placed on the stack. And Lowe actually feels good enough to attack this go-around, so Erwin's going to go down to 13. If you're Evan, you have to wonder what changed.
Well, more than likely what changed is there's a removal spell for that Obzadat.
Yeah.
Although Evan with that Advent now and still the Courser has quite a bit of pressure in play of his own.
Bile Blight going to be added to the grip. Obzadat trigger missed again here from Erwin, so it'll have to come in the second main phase.
Not a huge deal, as it's not long for this world regardless.
Yeah, that thing's going to die anyway. And so there's the drain and the gain. Erwin going to go up to 15, low down to 8.
Still a lot of pressure here for Evan, and I think he's in a spot now where he needs to strongly consider attacking with both creatures. He has a lot of removal to protect himself on the way back.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does arrive on the first main this time, so it is able to attack. And so here we go with the 5/5 and the Worm token. Dark Betrayal, we all know it's going to take care of the O's of that, so that thing is gone. The question is, what do you do about this Advent of the Worm? No good blocks.
Can't really chump, and you know there's a bunch of Bile Blights in Evan's hand as well, so you can't put together a big triple block or anything like that.
I think you probably just have to take 5. I don't think you really have a good option. When you know there's 2 Bile Blights, there really are no good blocks.
I can see trying to chump block with one of them right now. At least give that a shot.
Yeah, I mean, chumping with 1 gets you dealt 3 because of the trample on the worms. So
you need to try to split up the utility of these Mutavaults a little bit here because of the Bile Blades.
Sure.
So even though chump blocking with 1 is not great, you can't activate multiple Mutavaults in any turn ever against these Bile Blights. So you need to space it out a little bit.
Sure.
Attack with 1 at a time and use 1 at a time to block.
Looks like a -1/-1 from the charm is going to make it so the worm only deals 4 points of damage. Curious use of the charm there only because it could have taken down the Courser, which has been providing a lot of utility this game.
Yes.
It's been really smoothing out Erwin's draws here. In a game where, Low has been mana flooded because he doesn't have an effect like Courser, and Erwin has not.
It's one of those things where a lot of people don't even really know that Courser is an enchantment firsthand because there's nothing really to indicate that it is an enchantment. It has a different frame, but there's, in Theros, the enchantment cards were all either bestow creatures or they were the cycle of legendary equipment or what have you,
Yep.
or the artifacts rather. But later in the block, it's just kind of on stuff, and it makes it harder.
Advent of the Worm, the draw here for Erwin. Golgari Charm, the top card revealed from Courser. I actually learned a couple days ago that Satyr Fire Dancer is an enchantment creature.
Yeah. How would you know?
I did not know that. It doesn't seem like it would be an enchantment creature, but it is. Looks like Courser thinking about getting in here along with the other Worm token. How aggressive does Erwin have to be in this situation? Hard to say.
The risk here, of course, is that Kalani is sitting on something like Hero's Downfall or a Devour Flesh or something, and if you tap the Desecration Demon, you are exposing yourself to 1 removal spell in Kalani's hand, causing you a lot of trouble.
And this is an attempt with a Mutavault that wants to block.
Now, here's the thing. Evan can just let Kalani go ahead and block with as many Mutavaults as he wants to, and then Bile Blight before damage.
Because of trample.
Right.
Yeah. And that is going to do it. Evan Erwin is going to win this match over Kalani Low, 2-1. Junk mid-range, getting the job done over Black-Green Devotion. So congratulations to Evan Erwin as he does wave to the camera there. 1-0 here in Knoxville, his hometown.
We still love you, buddy.
We do.
Was not fluid ballet at all spots, but Evan takes down the match, and good start for him.
Not sure if we're going to have time to go over to the Eric Rill match or not at this point. Again, we do know that Rill is up a game playing blue-white control. He's currently playing against a Dredge-esque deck. This one does have Sylvan Primordial and some other things, but Eric Rill was victorious over kind of the hybrid Dredge deck here. So he gets off to a nice start this weekend.
And a trading post in that deck as well.
So.